Hey guys, it's Phyllis New Life here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be with you here today as we go through another episode of going through the book of Deuteronomy. Now in the last episode we went through chapters 1 and 2. Today we're going to go through chapters 3 and 4. Now, as we're going through chapters 3 and 4, we're going to see the same or common concept, if you will, of God keeps his promises. In chapter 3, we see where Moses is continuously addressing the Hebrew nation as they make their way from wandering in the wilderness in the land of Moab into the promised land. Now, here's the interesting thing. We always talk about how God keeps his promises in such a good way, as in, yes, when he gives you an amazing, wonderful promise, obviously you've got to do your part, but God is going to uphold his part. However, we also see where God honors his promise. He keeps his promise even in discipline. So this is a time where they're traveling through, going to the promised land. And up until this point, they had been disobedient unto God by not making their way into the land of Canaan because they were so afraid of the giants. And so they wandered into 40 years of wilderness season, if you will. But we saw where God still kept them. God still fed them. God still clothed them. He still took care of them, kept them safe, and everything in between. But God's promises still stand that the elders or anyone above the age of 20 would not see the promised land, including Moses. So now here is Moses addressing the people as they make their way from one side of the Jordan River to the next side of the Jordan River. And so they're going through the land that is occupied by King Og. Now, God had given them this command that as you're going through the lands, do not take what is not yours. If you must eat, pay for it. If you must rest, pay for your lodging, all the different things. And so God is really making them work for it. If you want to get into this promised land that I have given you, that I swore to your ancestors, then there's some work that still needs to be done. But we get to a point where yet another king is being dismissive. He does not honor their God. And so God leads them into battle. They conquer this land that King Og had occupied. They kill the king. And by the way, this is a land full of giants. Okay, so what they were afraid of before, they ended up having to slay anyway. So they kill the king, and it's crazy to think about it, how King Og's bed was just super huge. I think it says 13 feet long, 6 feet wide, and it was made with iron steel. So you can see how big, and that's just his bed. You can see how big this king is. Yet God allowed the Israelites to conquer this land, to conquer the king. They killed all of the women, the children, and the people that were still left. They took all of the possessions that that king had previously owned, and now they occupied this land. So now we see where Moses is dividing up the different parts of the lands and giving it to some of the tribe leaders. Again, not everybody is going to make it into the promised land. And so those who are not going to make it, they were still blessed. Okay, they were still blessed. Now, they didn't get the fruits of the promised land, but they were still blessed with shelter, with land, with riches. They were still blessed. Okay, cattle, all the different things. They were still blessed. So now we get into chapter 4 where they are coming up to the Jordan River, and God instructs Moses to now put Joshua in charge. Moses pleads with God. He's begging God to let him see the promised land. But God got angry with Moses. And I'm paraphrasing, but basically what God said was, look, go onto the top of this hill, look at that land. That is the land that you were supposed to have. But because you were disobedient, you cannot have it. You will die in this other land. You will not get to see the promised land that I have for you because of the disobedience of you and your people. So he instructs Joshua. He encourages Joshua. He really helps him out. And then he addresses the nation again, and he says, obey the laws of the land, the laws that God had given you. Remember the Lord your God. And he says, you know, as we get ready to go into this land, or you guys get ready to go into this land, you're going to see that these are different people. These people do not live by the same honor and the same code. They do not honor and worship the same God that you worship. So do not get distracted with false idols. Do not get distracted with the things that they're doing. Do not get distracted by the ways of their world and their culture. Instead, remember the Lord your God. Remember the laws that God had given you. Remember that it was God who spoke to us in the fire. Remember that it was God who allowed the bush to burn, but we did not get burned. Remember that it was God who gave us this instruction, who fed us manna while we were in the wilderness, who clothed us, who kept us safe, who allowed us to conquer giants that we had no business conquering. Remember that it is the Lord your God. And so this is what Moses is saying to the people as he addresses them, because he knows that he can't go with them. And so now we get to the end of it. What are we learning from this? What do we see? What is the common theme? Well, one, God keeps his promises. But two, there's another side of God where obedience is better than sacrifice. See, what you won't do, someone else will do. And God will bless them even greater because of their obedience. And so I want you guys to understand that, yes, at some point, Moses was eventually obedient, but delayed obedience is still disobedience. And so now we see that there is a consequence for disobedience. And because God loves us so much, he disciplines those that he loves, but he does it in mercy. He still fed them. He still clothed them. He still gave them land that they did not cultivate. He still blessed them with food that they didn't grow, with prized possessions that they didn't originally have. He gave them greater than what they had while they're in the wilderness. However, God was saying that the promised land he originally had for them, the original promise that was for them, was for even greater than that which they had received. So when we are disobedient, we can delay the promises of God. And yes, there may still have a consequence. Why? Because God keeps his promises. So today I want to encourage you that if God has given you a promise, a vision, a dream, whatever he has placed in your purpose, in your heart to do it anyway. It doesn't matter what giants you face. It doesn't matter what the people say, what they do. It doesn't matter your culture, your background. It doesn't matter what the world thinks. All that matters is your obedience unto the Lord. And when you're obedient, God will bless you abundantly, more than you could ever think or imagine. So this is Deuteronomy chapters 3 and 4. Stay tuned for the next episode as we go through chapters 5 and 6. All right, guys, remember, you are created for greatness, and greatness is created for you. It's a new life. Now go live it.